What people forget about this business is that it is a business, and that what we do is like, oh cool, we have to release this project, but the amount of stuff that comes with it, the amount of stuff that like happens on the backside of it to even make that a reality is challenging sometimes.
They're arguably the most famous and successful musical brothers of the last decade.
Please welcome
Kevin, Nick, and Joe,
the Jonas Brothers.
How do you block it out, the outer world and the inner world, and just say, hey, we're just gonna create art today?
You realize that this is the audience's show and they deserve the best. And it's totally okay to be like, yeah, this is tough, but like I'm here. And I think people respect it more. Authenticity wins, like always. Everyone's going through something.
Hitting a version of rock bottom for all of us made this second, maybe third bite of the apple even more special. Getting on stage and feeling that is like pinch me.
Wow. What was the core issue that you needed to resolve as a family to be able to come back together and let go of the envy or the jealousy or the whatever was swept under the rug?
There's a lot of things we probably needed to have real tough conversations about. Primarily as a core of like a band, I think it was.
It's the first time we've done this. We've had 3 people on at once.
Really?
We got the Jonas Brothers in the house. Good to see you guys. Thank you so much for being here. I got to start with this. So much has happened in 20 years.
Yeah.
And I'm curious, what is the thing that you've learned the most about fame, success, and money that you could share with the world? Like the lessons you've learned about fame, success, and money, either from 20 years ago, like it coming into your life when you were just like riding around in the van with your dad, you know, the malls, trying to like perform for 20 people, to then, oh, now it's a ton of it, fame everywhere, success, money, to 20 years later, how it's evolved.
Oh man.
For me, I think it's been interesting to have this relationship with fame for as long now as we have, because fame often doesn't equal success. It doesn't equal money.
It's true.
In fact, at times it can create more hurdles, and you know, preclude you from getting to those goals of success and money. And so I've had to redefine what the benchmarks of success look like at different stages, and also what realistic benchmarks of success and goalposts are financially. And the biggest learning in that has been that anytime I'm in my creative flow and doing something that's making me happy, the results are better. And it sounds very simple, and it also, I understand, sounds very privileged. And I will balance that with saying writing a song is incredibly difficult. And if you're not feeling positive in your spirit, if your life's not balanced, then you're not going to write a good song. In the same way that an athlete is not going to play a good game if things are out of balance in their life. And you know, I try to make something great while I'm in a great place that then creates a financial opportunity and result that is net positive. But sometimes you do something that you love and you feel great about, and no one responds to it.
How do you feel about that when people don't respond to something that you love?
Well, I think that, you know, it's very much, as we get to know each other, it's very me to say no one responds to it. I mean,
right.
You know, I understand that it doesn't hit number one.
Yeah.
And so as the game has changed so much in this 20-year period, you know, 10 years ago when I launched my solo music, it was very different. The process would be you go into a radio station, do an interview, and watch the song slowly grow at radio, and then hopefully people start, you know, buying it or streaming it. Now it's just a completely different landscape, and the way the algorithms are set up on streaming services and everything really make the listener more in control. But what it does is it then makes it harder for things to break through. And when, you know, you reference music coming out 10 years ago, there's probably 1,000 songs that came out on any given Friday. Now there's thousands of songs. And so I've had to start saying what really matters most to me. And the 3 things are feeling like my life is balanced, staying in my art, staying creative, and having fun. And then creating a sustainable touring business that doesn't depend on the success of a song on the charts, or it's more about super serving our fans who are absolutely incredible and have supported us for this 20-year period. And then if something starts to connect on a larger scale, it's just an added bonus. But we have built the foundation to sustain without the need for an anomaly. And I think in any business, that is the key is, building something that can, where the floor is not going to fall out and the ceiling is attainable. And
because you don't need one hit, you don't need a big hit song to make money right now. You have multiple layers of your businesses, from touring to merge to whatever else it might be.
And then, there is that rare thing that just finds its way and breaks through. And it continues, to give us motivation creatively as we get further and further into our life and career, to just be honest in our music and the stories that we're telling. And, that's why I think this album title really like resonated with us, was because it's about just getting back in touch with our roots and making music that feels like we're back in our living room in Wyckoff, New Jersey with our dad playing music. And so sorry, that was a long-winded answer.
No, I love it, man. And Kevin, what about you? What's the biggest lesson you've learned from money, success, and fame over the last 20 years?
Yeah, I've seen it both ways, right? I've seen the beginning of the success to financial success, not knowing what money really was and understanding it, to not having, to losing almost all of it, seeing bad business deal. Yeah, no, I had a...
you almost lost all your money?
Most of it, down to the 10% left,
Really?
Yeah.
When was this?
About 9 years ago. Invested in a bunch of property and doing other things, and I was building at the time. And sadly, it just wasn't the right partnership, if you know what I'm saying. Can't really get too much into it.
No, I get it. I get it.
But the sad part of it is I've learned a lot of lesson in that. And thankfully for life in general, like we had a second shot and bite at the apple with the band coming back together. And it actually was like kind of fortuitous in a way. Like, I learned this lesson, never wanted to learn it, but I did.
It's a painful lesson, man.
But then at the same time, reevaluated how to approach life, and from that perspective, and looking to the future. And at the same time was able to really feel honored that we could have a second shot at it. And then I think from the business side of things, I look at our business as we are like a startup, like any kind of thing, right? Like starting artists and other things, they have an album that they work on. Their first albums, most of the time, 20s, 18, whatever it is, they've worked on that album for 18 years before that album's out, right? That's their first album, is they're 18 years in the making. Then you have pretty much the pressure to put out another album a year later, 2 years later. So the window of time, the life you spend between projects can sometimes be important. I think we've learned that. I think it's helpful for us to do that, live a little bit of life to talk about it, But then I think we look at I look at a band like ourselves as like a startup. You start in your garage, you're making music, you build your product, you go out, you get an investor.
Our dad was our lead investor.
Yeah,
right,
our dad was our lead investor. He, supports you. You go on the road show. All of a sudden, you get a second investment, and that's the label, and then you have distribution, and now there's so many more. What people forget about this business is that it is a business, and that what we do is like, oh, cool, you have to release this project, but the amount of stuff that comes with it, the amount of stuff that like happens on the backside of it to even make that a reality is challenging sometimes. And putting up a tour and having to make choices to where to go and what kind of venues to play, and these are all really complicated conversations and decisions that sometimes need to be made. So it's nice to be able to have teammates with these guys and on our management team that has been with us for so long. And I think, we're a good unit now, and sometimes it takes time to make decisions, and I think that's okay. I think for me, that's the hardship that I face. Like, I just want to make a decision and move and continue. Sometimes it's nice to, like Nick said, or Joe said, actually, to take it easy. Like, that's what I've learned, I think, in all of this, is to take some time is okay to make a decision. You don't need to make it in the room. And Nick's really good at that. He's like, I'll let you know. And
he's like, give me some time. Yeah,
but he'll say that it's like, I don't know yet. And it's okay to not know. And I think, like, for me, that's always like an insane thing.
Stresses you out. You want to be like, let's figure out a decision.
Stresses me out because I want an action plan. I just want to start moving forward. That's my own complications, but
it's good though, because you need some of that. Otherwise, if it's just like, we'll think about it for months, you need someone giving the pressure of like, all right, here's a deadline, how long you can think about it, right?
Yeah,
it's like,
exactly.
You think about it, and then get back to me in a few weeks. And
yeah, totally.
Otherwise, artists could be like, I'll think about it forever, right? It's like
completely.
Yeah, I think oftentimes too, artists get a bad rap for, for being less structured.
Uh-huh.
But I have worked with people that I really admire and respect, who you would think, based on their work, would be really efficient, killers in the room, making decisions and leading. Often those are the people who just go, I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
And I might not know today.
Yeah.
And give me 2 days, 3 days, and I'll let you know. And they come back with something that is as good as the time that they were awarded to think on it.
Yeah.
And even in the moment, if you're like, this isn't efficient, this isn't the logical thing, it's like, it does end up, the results are better.
It's the artistic mind. My older brother, he's 11 years older than me. He's the #1 jazz violinist in the world. So he's played and traveled the world with all the top jazz artists, musicians. And he's just, the jazz world is another level of like artistic expression, of improvisation. And it's just, his mind is incredible. But he's probably the extreme version of you, where it's like, hard to make a decision and everything and he's got some of you, it's like, he's so hard on himself if it's not the perfect thing at every moment. So it's like the indecision can kill him sometimes. And then needing to look a certain way. And it's like, well, it has to be my perfect artistic expression. And it's like, I'm never going to do this type of art because it's, it crushes my soul if it's not this way. And so I'm like, yeah, but you can make a lot of money over here too. And he's like, but I can't put something out there unless it's true to the art form of jazz. And I'm like, all right, man, it's like, it's what makes him great, but also like kind of his challenge that hurts him from like,
worst enemy.
Yeah, making more money or, being more commercial or whatever it might be. So, what about you, but for biggest lesson you've learned from fame, success, and money? What has it taught you?
I think probably fame and success. I think success used to be like plaques on the wall and sold out stadiums and arenas, and now it's just like a quiet morning and quiet time with my kids, or like a destination. Like that's success, like just being happy. Fame, I think, is like, it's something that naturally you look at, and it's like, when I meet young artists, I always ask them, like, do you have any advice? And the first question I ask them a question back. I'm like, why do you want to do this? And if they say they want to be famous, I'm like, and I usually look at their mom or dad. I'm like, maybe they should stay in music class for a little longer, see if they like it. Because I think if you're getting into it for fame, that's just not what it's about. I think like that is such a double-edged sword, and we've been, I guess, poked many times by the other side of the sword in a negative way, where it's just not fun. And it comes with a lot of pressures, and especially as a young person, like we started. And there are amazing things that it also comes with. Naturally, being able to help other people through the power of music. We've met some incredible people just recently, people that have been affected by cancer. And we've spent so much incredible time with people who are sick kids or are going through some crazy things. And you play a song that you think, well, we're going to play this on the set list. And you look out and you're like, oh, that's that person's like, that got them through something crazy. And you hear these real stories.
And you've sung it thousands of times.
Yes, of course. And it brings out, like, we have a song, Little Bird. We wrote it, we have this song that is essentially a dedication to our daughters. And now it's kind of taken a life of its own. It's people usually holding signs. Can you sing this about my father or parent who's no longer with us? Or my child is no longer with us. And you're just like, oh. And so the fact that we can help, I think genuinely a reason to do what I love is the fact that I can help others in some way. Whether it makes them feel something or distract them at a concert, like that part of fame, great. If I can help people, that's what it's about. Now, money, I think I am probably least money smart here, but I think I also love to take, as long as I'm able to take care of my friends and family, and I'm good. I've smartened up because I had to, having kids, but I think surround myself with great people that know what they're talking about, and that can make sure that there's longevity there, but also have fun in the process. I mean, I think it's I don't want to be just behind a desk, and I'm not. I'm grateful for that, but I should say in the sense of just working all the time. I want to be able to enjoy why I'm doing this and go live life and find the kind of simplicities. That's what it's about. So I think if I can create amazing things for my kids and also keeping them in somewhat like humble creatively, that's what I hope for.
Sure. If you could go back before your first gig as a group, 20 or whatever years ago it was, and you can play your life 20 years in advance to where you are now, all the ups and downs, the success, the fame, the money, the loss, the heartbreaks, the love, all the different stuff. What's one thing you'd say to your younger self right before you started about where you are now? One piece of advice. I'll let you start.
I have one funny one, and then I'll say the actual one. But remember your guitar. On the first night the first night we went on stage, I literally left it in the dressing room and had to run off stage and miss one of the 2 songs we played. So don't forget your guitar. But realistically, it's enjoy the moments, because learn to celebrate even the little moments, because we kept going so hard so fast that we would kind of never look back and we never celebrated. And I think we missed opportunity to grow as people because of it.
Okay, beautiful.
I would say fame and criticism are 2 very different types of obsession, and they have different tastes, and learn to not overeat.
Interesting. Okay. Nick?
Anytime throughout this 25 years, I guess I've been doing this, I've second guessed my first instinct and gone cut a different direction. I've regretted it. I feel like I would encourage myself to trust my first instinct and stand by it. If it doesn't accomplish what you thought it would accomplish or wanted it to, stand by it, because more often, the result is something you can be really proud of than if you've spent time cutting a different direction. So yeah, don't second guess yourself.
Beautiful. I had Rick Rubin on a couple of years ago. I don't know if you guys know Rick Rubin, the producer.
Very much.
You guys worked with him, or you guys know him, or just know
the
of
audience
him?
comes last. It's my favorite Rick Rubin quote.
Yeah.
We had not worked with him. I would love to. But.
Yeah. I asked him about his creative process on the show, and I asked him about if he worries about what the audience thinks when he's making his music. And he says no. He says, I make the music for me, essentially. I'm paraphrasing him. And I try not to concern myself on how well it does commercially. Now, maybe he's older and got all the money in the world and he doesn't have to worry about that.
He's had all the success.
Right, yeah, who knows? But it sounds like he's kind of always been that way. Who knows?
No,
If that's true?
He probably was.
I don't know. That's, I would like to think that way when I make, an interview or a book or whatever it is. I'd like to think, I don't care what people think. I'm making this for me, essentially, is what he's saying. How do you guys navigate that? You kind of mentioned it a little bit about really getting in a flow state of doing the thing you love, making music or performing from a place of love, whether it's a sold out audience or, half sold out. I mean, not that you guys never sell out anymore, but it's like,
there are times.
How can you show up when it's like, oh, we didn't sell it the way we wanted to, or people didn't react or respond the way we thought they would? How do you guys make art without worrying about the audience, but also making sure you make money to survive?
Yeah.
The show I just did is an example of this. It's 8 shows a week, and the theater holds about 1,000 people. So that's 8,000 tickets a week, or roughly around 8,000, which is a lot of tickets. And that over, 14-week period, it's easy to look out and go, oh, this is only 1,000 seats. This should be pretty easy. But, it ends up being a lot of tickets to sell. And so, yeah, there was a few shows where the houses were a little lighter. And on top of what Joe mentioned earlier about staying motivated amidst, some criticism, and what I truly believe to be just a theme in this last Broadway season of a feeling that there wasn't that there were some critical voices that were louder perhaps than the audiences were. The audiences would come and see these shows, and it wasn't just our show.
And they loved it.
Loved it. But a critic's voice just rose to the top and became the narrative. But what motivated me was, regardless of, my first instinct, which was to look out and go, oh man, there's a few more empty seats tonight than there was last night, or wow, this is a bigger audience, was to look at the reaction and focus on the experience that's happening in real time. I was speaking to someone who basically was saying, you're creating all these scenarios in your head. It's as if, I put a box on the table and said, what's in there? And you created, there was a snake in the box. It's like, you open it up, it could be something else, but like you've created this scenario. It's not that. And that's what I was doing during that show. I'm starting to listen to the negative more than I'm really taking a second, regardless of how many empty seats there are, to enjoy what was happening in the room. And so as far as like staying motivated and creative and flow state, all this stuff, it's not easy. And it's not just our art form. This could apply to someone at their job at an insurance company, or whatever your creative thing is, your process is. Staying positive and staying motivated isn't always easy, but there are ways to tap into it. And I think that the thing that's helped me the most has been to talk to friends and family and open up whatever inner sort of life stuff I'm going through to get through it. What's happening like outside of your work, that directly affects what's happening in the work.
So how do you navigate that then? Whether it's, any you can share this about, how do you block out the noise of the outer world, or block out the noise of the inner world of the outer world, so that you can stay present and focused on creating your craft? Because you guys have so much busy lives, like kids, this, that, touring, business, fans, social media. It's like there's distractions everywhere. Maybe it's not distraction, but there's things that need your time and attention all day long. How do you block it out, the outer world and the inner world, to just say, hey, we're just going to create art today. And we're going to focus on this and not be on the phone or check with this person or your kid, whatever it might be. How do we navigate that?
There was a season of my life where it was probably the most challenging season of my life. And I couldn't escape comments and negativity and headlines. And so that was like the forefront of my day, or getting a call like, hey, there's this, like, from a PR person. You're like, gosh, like, and you're just wanting to also got to go show up,
put on a smile and be positive and
go on stage. And so I guess to answer your question, there was a director I worked with, JD Dillard, and above his monitor, he said, what do you want them to feel? And I wrote that on my like backstage mirror, like every night. And you realize that this is their show, the audience's show, and they deserve the best. And it's okay to be vulnerable. I think you fight that for so long to be like, I gotta show these people that it doesn't matter. It's totally okay to be like, yeah, this is tough, and this is like a challenge, but like I'm here. And I think people respect it more. Authenticity wins, like always. And it's not always easy. I think like there was times where I'd just break down to these guys or be like, and they would have real conversations like, do you want to cancel tonight, or do you want to like, not sing this song or that song? I'm like, nope, I'll do it all, because I feel like that's what they deserve. And I know that we're not hyper unique individuals going through certain situations in our life. Like everyone's going through something, whether if it feels like it's a big thing in your life or it feels like a little thing in your life. You're going through something. And it was so beautiful to be. I was at a Coldplay concert in Greece last year, and
that must have been epic.
It was like honestly one of the best shows I've seen live.
It's like a spiritual experience.
It really
right?
is.
Yeah.
And Chris Martin says on stage, he said, "How unique is this moment when we were about to go, I think, on the road again. So it was like I needed this." He was like, "How amazing is this moment in the world right now that thousands of people can be in one place and disagree on politics, spirituality, what you would have for dinner. And yet you can sit here and sing the same song and be like arm in arm and like happy." And I'm like, there's not many things like that anymore.
Yeah.
You can't go to even film, TV, music. Like it's very divisive. Yeah. And obviously what is happening in our world, there's a lot of heartbreaking things, but the fact that we could go to a place where we're putting all that aside and we all have core memories of a song that like could be that person's breakup song, it could be that person's like wedding song,
Wow.
And we could be in the same room or same arena.
Sure.
I'm like, how lucky are we? And I think that's what they deserve. So I'm like, I could do that for them. And if I have to cry through this song, so be it. That's
wow.
what.
And just to add to that, some of the folks from the show I was just doing came to see an experience that we did last week in New York. Basically, we were rehearsing music rehearsal all week for the tour, and we just decided to open it up to do like a live rehearsal experience for our fans. And it was a few folks who wouldn't, I think, categorize themselves as fans. Maybe they know a couple of the songs. But I said, just come and just see what the environment is like, because it is kind of magical. Like, Jonas fans are so loving, and it's such a joyous experience that I'm not naive. Like, I know that there are people that I've invited to shows who don't know a single song, or would even like say it just never hit them in culture or whatever. But when they come, they experience kind of similar to what he's talking about, that euphoric feeling. And it's why I love that I get to do this as my job. Creating in the studio is like my safe place. It's my favorite thing in the world. But getting on stage and feeling that feeling is like, pinch me. This is real life. It's amazing.
Does it ever get old for you guys, just being on stage and having people scream your songs back to you?
It's such an experience every single time. Like, I remember with the feeling of starting the last tour, the 5 albums, 1 night tour, and we were at Yankee Stadium and opening that up, and then, like, you know, the start of the show happens, and it just is no music. Like, the music, but like we hit the stage and it's silent. Not silent, but there's no sound from us, and it's just the audience, and the lights are on them, and it's just
a roar.
In that moment, we get to see all their faces, and it's just unlike anything else.
I think as we've gotten older and we've got families, and you know, we're not 22. Like, it does, the travel aspect of this occupation at times can be a little tiring, but we're so fortunate, and once we get to that venue and the music begins and we hear the audience, it's even more significant for us, because, you know, there was a chapter of this 20-year journey where things were not going well, and it was post the first, you know, peak, and gradually over a 3-4 year period, as we moved further and further away from authenticity in our personal lives and relationship with each other. Our music started to reflect that.
Really?
And then people's desire to come and see a show, or radio station's desire to play a song of ours sort of started to go down.
Really?
I think hitting a version of rock bottom for all of us made this second, maybe third bite of the apple, and one that is far more sustainable now. Even more special.
How does that feel when you, I guess, reach a peak and then there's a dip, and maybe it dips for a while? Or, I mean, and your guys' dip is still big compared to most, you know, artists and musicians, but you've been to a mountaintop and you've hit this success of number ones and sold out arenas, and then, radio stations don't care as much, or it's not as high on the charts, or we're making less money, or fans are not as connected. How does that make you feel emotionally or mentally when that dip happens?
I think the dip feels like you're jumping off a cliff. Like, it feels so much more in that moment. Like, you just see, when we were there, like at that place, and to your point, absolutely. Like, we realize now that, like, that dip is not as great as we thought it was. And
but it feels like, you can't control it, right?
It's also like, is this it? Are we done? Like, okay, do we need to, like, start? Yeah. And I think what it really did for us, stepping away from it, was realizing, like, okay, well, do you love this that much that you're going to be willing to just not start over, but start where you're at and figure out what that looks like? And I think there was a season when, like, I think, like, every young person, I can speak to this, and I'm sure anyone that loved music, you go through a season where you're, like, obsessed with certain artists, and then you go, like, that's not cool. That's I don't like that anymore. You go and figure out what you like, and then you go, actually, no, what you may have laughed at me for what I liked when I was younger, I'm proud of that. And that actually was a defining artist or band or boy band, whatever it is to you in your life. And to see now, like all those people run back, it was like, great. The door's always been open. And I think what
That's cool.
we learned about ourselves back then was that it was, we needed to step away from the band to be able to like focus on family and focus on figuring out what we were. I think we were starting to kind of recycle material creatively, and it started to feel like we were coasting. I think we got comfortable too, like musically and creatively.
Well,
We were
it's
just like-
it's that thing too where you start to like create alternate realities to not address the elephant in the room.
And what was the elephant?
And the elephant was that it wasn't that we were taking control artistically and just doing it ourselves. It's that we weren't confident that people that we wanted to work with would work with us. And when we finally just said that out loud, that, you know, we were basically stunting our own growth because we were afraid of rejection. It was a big reality check and an important one.
Rejection from who though? Was it?
Producers and songwriters who we were, again, the alternate reality was, yeah, we don't want to work with them. It's like, no.
But you were afraid they
Yeah,
didn't want to work with
exactly.
Correct.
you. Interesting.
And then we burst that bubble. And
What was that fear though? Was it afraid to like, oh, they didn't take you as a serious artist or like a next like
Misconceptions, and I think personally, like that was my thought would be like misconceptions of just like some of the past choices of like even working with Disney, like that's all this is, and it's like no, we wrote all of this music before we ever teamed up with Disney, and thank God we had them, and they helped surge and gave us a platform for our audience to hear the music we created, and the music that Nick wrote in the basement of our Little Falls house in New Jersey when we were in between labels when we were dropped. Like that is the album that we called Jonas Brothers because that's the album. You know, that was his 18 years, or how old are you? 15 at that point? 15 years of that first album. You know what I mean? Like we had an album before that, but that really wasn't us. It was this one, right? That's why it's called Jonas Brothers. And we found our sound, we found who we are, and we found our voice. I think, but success has changed for me. And I think having my family be able to attend shows, which I never thought was going to happen when we had that dip.
your kids?
My children, yeah, because we broke up when they just about to have our first. Like I never thought they'd experience the Jonas Brothers.
What is that like having your kids show up and
It's
like
the greatest experience, you know, having my wife Danielle and my support there, and that feeling is unmatched. But then having my two girls come to shows and bring their friends and be like proud, and like be excited and like be singing. When we did this thing on Broadway and they're on like on the balcony and like they're like jumping around singing a song, it's unimaginably like nothing else matters. It's like cool, did it, great.
because you're a teenager when you started, and now it's like they're almost your daughter's
almost a teenager. Yeah,
That it's like the emotion behind that must be surreal.
and we're still doing it. You know, like now the requests come in though. So now it's like MetLife is like, Dad, I need a box for all my friends to come. I'm like, okay.
That's amazing.
It's becoming very expensive.
Yeah, right. Wow, this is fascinating. Something else that I think you mentioned, Joe, earlier in the interview was about how, and you kind of just said this, how you wrote the songs, or you kind of led. You were a natural born leader. I think that's what you said about Nick. What was that like as you guys, as the older brothers? I guess
I think we needed it.
Allowing him to lead, or allowing him to kind of like.
I think we needed it. We obviously all worked together, but I think we needed it because at that point we're a little older, and we were like, oh, we just want to hang out with these two girls that we just met.
Right.
And then Nick's writing this incredible music, and we come back and hear it, and we're like, oh, okay, that's great too.
I think there's pros and cons.
Yeah,
though.
exactly.
I mean, I think it took us a while to also like have mutual respect for like what we bring to the table. You know, that's three of us, and I think like
because he's like the younger brother too.
the younger
So
brother.
it's
And so I think I was envious probably
like,
with his natural talent too. I was just like, like it's a bit unfair. And I think also that's at the time, and I think also like naturally people like he was an old soul, so he's like kicking it with like 50-year-old dudes writing music, and I'm like, and then. Also at the time, I think because we were like, to his point, being like, we're older and we just want to like, I want to go on a date or something, or I want to go just have a night off. Nick's like, why do you not want to be in the studio right now? And so it's like,
and how old were you at this time?
like 15 or 16.
Crazy.
And by the way, just like,
I'm 20.
So,
You know what I mean? So
to that point, I think like I was motivated by different things at that time. That eventually
The girls didn't
changed.
kick in yet, right? It's
Yeah,
like,
exactly. I'm like, you just wait, kid.
Yeah, right.
It's like one of those things where over years and years later, like, and it really happened, I think, during the breakup where like we all had to go figure out creatively like what we can do on our own.
How long was that breakup again?
About 6 years or so.
6 years, yeah.
And we call it a breakup, but like we had no intent to get back together. That was not like,
They're like, we're done.
I think it was just like there was too much under the rug to like to roll up and say, okay, well, we're gonna address all these things that were problematic, and also things were good. Like without being long-winded, I think it was a little bit challenging at times, and I feel like we had to trust each other a bit more with being like, actually, you are good in this band, you are talented, and all of us, and for different reasons. Like I shouldn't maybe just be the person in the, like for me, I was like the audience thinks you're a frontman. That doesn't. There was never a choice for that. So it's like we can all share the spotlight, and we could all share the studio, and we could all share songwriting. We could all share money.
Right.
Just kidding.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, like, it really was
It's
like we could share this experience together and all fronts, and we had to figure that out. Took a while.
How long did it take you? I mean, I watched the documentary, it came out a few years ago, but for those that didn't watch it, what was the core issue that you needed to resolve as a unit, as a family, to be able to come back together and let go of either the envy or the jealousy or the whatever was swept under the rug that wasn't talked about? What was the core issue that you guys needed to mend, and how did you mend it?
I think a lot of people assumed that we had our together and we would talk about certain things. And I think there's a aspect where I think this goes for a lot of people in the industry. It's like, we're all just trying to figure it out as we go. And especially when you're that young, you say something and it's in print. Back then we had printed things. And people would just think that's like, you go by that word. But it's like, well, we're also like 17, 16 years old. We're figuring out who we are. And so I think like what we needed to, there's a lot of things we probably needed to have real tough conversations about. But it, like primarily as a core of like a band, I think it was the dynamics of how we need to open the door a bit more for other creatives to be a part of this project.
Not just you guys.
Not just us.
And allow others to have input.
And I watched that happen a lot, like for sure, when we came back afterwards, and seeing all the work that Joe had done independently with his, solo music with DNCE and all the writers and the songwriters that he worked with, Nick in the same capacity, and then getting together in our first writing camp with the three of us coming back into the music scene as a unit, but having multiple rooms going with the people that they all loved working with and bouncing from room to room and doing it unlike I've ever done it was so cool to see, because there was no like, we have to be in this room, we're all writing together and this is the idea, and it's like, cool, I'm gonna start this idea, I'm gonna, Kevin, you jump in here with them, see what happens, and like, it became so much more like, it was free. And because of that, I think it became authentic. And I think that deciding to understand that there are three very independent and very different people, even though we're brothers, is important. And also forgiveness for things that like we were just trying to learn who we were.
Right.
Or are.
Yeah. We're still trying to figure it out, I guess.
I'm
still figuring it out. It sounds like you guys were trying to do all the work yourselves early on, or it was like having the pride of like, I want to write the songs or whoever it is. And you were resistant to allowing outside support, or you were afraid of them rejecting you, I guess. And now you're about collaboration. Let's just find the best people that can help us make great art, is what I'm hearing you say.
Totally.
Yeah.
And how does that make you feel now that's more collaborative, not just within you guys, but with others you respect as well?
I think that we had a real chip on our shoulder in our youth and early days of the band, where we were really,
trying to prove
ourselves.
And we'd see a lot of young acts come up around our same age and see these guys be like, just handed. And we got so mad. They'd be like, we were like, you didn't pay any dues. Like that was kind of our attitude, because we were a touring band for years before we even had somebody pay attention to us. So sorry to interrupt.
Because they were just like given a song by a great artist and they sang it.
It was just like, we felt like wait, we're over here playing our instruments and loading in our gear, and this young hotshot kid comes out of nowhere and steals our audience. That's how we thought, which was obviously like nobody has the control of the music industry. Like we, you know, it's like not one sole artist that doesn't go like, we live 2025. It's this it's their year. Like I kind of always get annoyed when I read like, you can bleep my name out, but like I don't care. But Rolling Stone's like top songs of the year, our favorite songs of the year. I'm always like, so subjective because this is like everybody can share this. So
I think we also made a lot of decisions in fear. Fear that everything was going to fall apart. Yes. Everything was going to disappear. That one wrong move, nothing was going to be good anymore. So when you have that as your first hurdle to get over before you make all the decisions, you're going to fall down pretty hard.
Yeah, interesting. Do you guys feel like you can make art and you can be successful and other people can be successful at the same time and hit the charts and tour out and sell out? Like, do you believe in having abundance for all artists, or what's your thoughts on abundance?
I think that there are certain artists who look at this music industry as something that can be dominated and you can win it.
Interesting.
And I think that is completely insane. And it's mean. It causes people to do things behind the scenes that are unfair to other artists who are trying to find their way. And I think that the business is just kind of set up to allow it. And I know firsthand how difficult it is to get anything made, to see an anomaly happen, and you know how many people are often overlooked and
who are really talented,
and don't get that shot. And it's because there are people trying to win the game, and it's like it's just not fair. It's not kind. And I love seeing people succeed. And I love hearing music that can inspire me or touch someone else's life. And the magic of that is real. So I think abundance gets a big cosign from me. I think everyone should win, and
I think
it's good.
And you know, if to Joe's point about a sort of top song list.
I'm sorry, I think it was best.
Best
not
song.
favorite.
Best, yeah.
There's something like that. Favorite's different, but best is.
But exactly. But if you want to talk about best songs, look at all the music Lin-Manuel did for Moana. Like, as a father, my biggest learning has been I'm tapping back into, you know, the brilliance of Disney cinematic universe.
Yeah.
And some of those songs in those movies are absolutely incredible.
Yeah.
And what, that's not going to be on that list because it's not some indie act from wherever.
Right.
Like, give me a break. There's some brilliant musical stuff happening. And our dad was always, you know, very wise in that he would play us a bunch of different styles of music genres and different eras and all that kind of stuff. And then, you know, the odd thing would get played that one of us would be like, oh, I don't like this. And he's like, well, they did something right. So listen.
Yeah, it's interesting.
And it gave us a far more dynamic sort of view of, especially in pop music, you know, what one could consider isn't like great or excellent. A lot of people in the world love it.
Yeah.
There's nothing better than hearing a song and being like, damn, I wish I wrote that song.
Right?
Like, because it's just like, it's inspiring to hear great and hearing like just
what's that one song for you?
Wish you wrote.
It was first for me. It was "Yellow" by Coldplay.
My gosh.
Like when I heard that song for the first time ever, I was just like,
it's a good one. But what about like in the last 5 years, 10 years?
Last 5 years, 10 years. Come Back to Me, Joe.
I never wrote a song called Come Back.
No, he's saying Come Back.
This is the one thing I'm not good at, is naming songs. I don't know why I've never been good at it.
It's interesting. You can't do it.
I can't do it. And they do. They put me on the spot all the time.
That's not why I did it.
No.
Mine is
What's yours?
Attention by Charlie Puth. If we had come out with that song, that would have been a #1 record for us. It's such a great song.
That's a great song.
Yeah. I'm like so jealous. I'm like,
when did he write that song? About 5 years, 6 years ago?
It was like 10 years ago, I
10 years
think.
ago? God, that was a hit.
Smash.
It was massive. It was incredible. It's so catchy.
And he so at that time I was...
Okay, now I'm back.
Yeah, I was doing some solo music, and every now and again a song would get to me that he had written
Did that get to
to
you?
potentially cut, and that one didn't.
Oh,
Obviously,
you're like,
because
dang it.
but yeah, Charlie.
He
He's like,
kept
I'm
that-
keeping this
he
one.
kept that
I'm
one.
keeping this one for me. Yeah. You guys are all dads, and my wife's pregnant, so I'm going to have
Congrats.
my first
Congrats.
kid here in the next few months.
Amazing.
Amazing.
And I want to get you guys' advice on what it's like being a dad, and any advice you might have for me becoming a new dad.
Well, the first thing I did, what you're doing, is asking people, I hope you respect us, but people that I really respected, fathers, parent figures in my life that I really looked up to, and would go to them and say, all right, what's the best piece of advice you can give me? Like your quick, like table pitch. And I just collected it all. Kept a few that I really loved and some that I was like, I'll be good. But I think it's, for me, I've really being present, and also like it's so humbling being a father, where you'll be like, all right, let's put the devices away. And they're like, well, you're on your phone. I'm like, well, you're right. Putting those into practice. Kind of trying to be a present person and present dad.
What about you guys?
Yeah, I think that is the best advice. Is the phone really can take so many precious moments away, and because these jumps in development happen so quickly when they're that small, you really can end up missing some of the most special moments of your kid's life. And so I've tried to do my best to put the phone in another room on charge or something and go and just spend some time and be present. And it's just a magical thing once you're really able to connect and tap in. So that's the advice, and I think you're gonna handle it with excellence. So it's gonna be
Thanks.
good.
Appreciate it.
I actually heard this yesterday from a friend. They said, you take 10,000 hours to be, great at what you do. And they said, you try to put in 10,000 hours with your children before the age of 10.
Interesting.
And I was like, whoa, thinking about it. And it's true. My daughter's 11, my oldest. And by the time they're already at that age, they've got their own friend groups. They're starting to live their own life. Like, it's not outside of your home, but like they're definitely their own people in the sense. And you start losing time. Oh, I already feel it. And so 10,000 hours before 10 is a great goal.
Wow. And you guys all have girls, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what's the biggest lesson, or how have you all evolved as men from before having girls to after having girls now?
Well, yeah. I mean, there's a lot of things that we just didn't know because we grew up in a household with all boys. Our parents always joke and say they tried 4 times for a girl and got 4 boys. And I think having an amazing teammate in my wife, and just the woman that she is has helped me and my daughter. We've all benefited from that, and it's amazing to be able to walk kind of side by side with someone as brilliant as her, and it makes being a dad even more special, and a girl dad at that. And mine's still so young that there's lessons down the road as she gets older. I'm sure Kevin's experiencing that I will experience, but right now I'm just kind of loving all of her interests, and it's that inherent thing in her that just loves purple and pink and princesses, and it's kind of incredible.
What's evolved inside of you from becoming a girl dad?
Well, our initial journey with Parenthood was really kind of frightening. We had about a 2.5-3 month period in the NICU with our daughter. The beginning of her life was really a test, not only for her but for us. And in these moments where life throws you a curveball like that, how you react says everything about, I think, who your parents are and how they raised you, and the foundation that you have. And luckily, our parents raised us to take that moment, to take a breath and cry if you need to cry, or do whatever you need to do, but then to stand firm in your convictions and make a game plan. And so we quickly sprung into action. And while it could be very easy to let the tornado of events happening cause a breakdown, we stayed calm, and I leaned on family and friends to get through that, and basically have my first test as a father be one of the hardest, perhaps, I hope, that we'll ever have to go through. And yeah, I think it it was an encouraging thing that when truly tested with what was going to end up being a really tough couple months, I was able to sort of find it within myself to stay positive and encouraged and get through it.
That's beautiful, man. And Joe, what about you, man? What's evolved within you by becoming a girl dad?
Everything. It's the greatest joy and journey navigating. I have 2 beautiful girls, and before having kids, I think we have a really strong, incredible mom who raised 4 boys, which is like, as a parent now, I'm like, how did you do that?
Yeah,
Insane. Obviously 2 amazing parents, but a really strong presence of a mom in our household, which I think really helped us kind of understand how to treat people and with respect. And so my little ones have like some incredible women to look up to, including their mom. So I have a great co-parenting relationship, which is really important to me. And I think what's changed or developed in me the most, I know a lot of unicorn names that I never thought I would know, you know?
Give me a couple.
I think there's Polly, I think Rachel, some they've made up. You know, I love the sensitivity and the gentleness of young girls have, but also the strength that they're like, you're building them up to be these incredible, confident superheroes. And it's so amazing to, as a parent, to be able to just even go through a bookstore and like things that you wanted to read, or things that now in this amazing world, in this generation, where we can be like grabbing books about Pride Month, things that I really love that my kids get to have. So there's so many options. It's really lovely. Sure. And I think also in myself, I think probably I've realized it's just day to day. It's really quite humbling and eye-opening to learn so much about myself within learning about them.
I want to ask you, you said something before we started rolling, that you said you wanted to make this conversation honest. You're like, this would make it powerful. So I want to ask you, Kevin, because you're the oldest, and you have the most wisdom of the 3, I'm assuming, because you're the oldest. What is the thing?
We're getting honest now?
Exactly. What is the thing that both Joe and Nick do really well as leaders in their life in general that you really respect and admire? And what's the thing, being the oldest and the wisest, that you've observed of both of them that you think they can both improve on?
Oh God. Okay.
Yeah. Don't tell them how to raise their kids.
Yeah. That's a no-fly zone for any of us.
It's like telling somebody how to drive.
Yeah. Exactly. But more of like, what do you see that they do really well in life?
Oh, okay.
And how could
I thought we were still on parenting, so I got a little nervous there.
And
what they do in real life, I think balancing their schedules in the sense of their family and their time, right? Like, we all have our individual lives outside of what we do together, and so trying to find that balance between priorities, saying yes to everything, saying no when you have to, saying maybe, it's like trying to figure out how to make sure that the work-life balance is truly there. They do an incredible job at, not always perfect, none of us are, but I think they are incredibly good at making sure they are home when they need to be home, and as much time as they can be, and still prioritize the growth of their business, the growth of them as individuals, still daily challenges. Like Nick deciding to do this Broadway show that he did for the last, 14 weeks, 14, 15. That is a gauntlet, right? It's 8 shows a week. You don't have to do that. We could have kept doing it.
You got enough money. You don't need to do that. Yeah.
It's more about just like the craft and bettering yourself and choosing to do something that's challenging. And I think they both do that. Joe releasing a very honest album in the last 6 months. He worked on it for a while, but like being very, very vulnerable in the songwriting, the performances, the way he presented it, like the amount of time spent online to promote it. Joe, finding new ways to do that through, TikTok, social media, how they can do better.
What's one thing each one of them could improve on in their life that you think and you see as the wiser, older brother?
God. I do not have this answer. I really don't.
You're not going to upset us.
Yeah, what's the...
No, I don't know. Since
we said honesty.
Yeah, I'm with you. I just really don't really know, if I'm being completely fair with you. But the answer is, for Joe, letting others choose a restaurant at times. Joe does a very good job of curating.
Good answer, actually.
Joe does a very good job of curating
Takes
the
great
experience.
pride.
He takes a lot of pride in where we go, where we eat, what kind of coffee we drink. And sometimes
he's good at it.
And he's very good at it. Sometimes it'd be nice to just do something else sometimes.
So what's the deeper meaning underneath that?
Correct.
Having a choice in the conversation.
Allowing others to have a choice in the conversation? Oh,
without having offense be given.
Oh, so not like taking control of everything.
It's not just because we have a suggestion does not mean your suggestion is not good.
Okay. And what about, how does that land for you? Does that resonate at all?
I'm aware of this.
Okay.
I'm no stranger to this, and I think I've gotten better at it. I used to we'd like show up in a city to visit Nick, and I'd be like, "Oh, I'm going to show you around." He's like, "I've been here for, I've actually been here. I live here, and I've also visited this place when we were younger at the same age."
Yeah.
I've gotten better at it. We did go to a restaurant. Nick decided on.
Oh, that's
that actually meant a lot to me. And there was no like pushback. He recognized that I haven't been in my home city for like 6 months. And I was like, I'm dying to just go, and I'm going to go there regardless. It's sort of the
You're the coming or not? I'm going. Yeah.
And he allowed us to go there.
That's great. And what about for Nick? What's something that you really admire and respect, and then one thing that you see he could improve on?
I think I mentioned the challenging himself continuously.
Yeah.
I think that is something that I find really impressive. Still pushing the boundaries, sometimes when you don't really have to, but like still choosing to. Improve on for me, it's just my personal experience. When he's going through a frustrating time, vocalizing that frustration instead of retracting.
So what is that? You mean he kind of holds it in the frustration?
Internalizes. Personally, I think he internalizes, and so then so I get nervous that I'm going to overstep if he's trying to process. And I want to help because that's just my personality, but I also sometimes don't know how.
Interesting. Okay. And what about for you with both of them? One thing you admire about your older brother and think that he could improve on, and one thing for Nick as well.
I think Kevin is...
and maybe you guys already talk about this stuff all the time, but I'm just...
We don't actually talk about it enough.
Really?
Yeah. Huh. It's like the time that we have to just hang outside of work is like better spent, I think, enjoying what we're doing and not like just having tough conversations. But this is great.
Okay,
I love this is like my favorite kind of promo.
Awesome.
Yeah. I think Kevin is thoughtful. He's very he's a incredible father and partner, and it's amazing to watch him like navigate. Like I think we used to tease him on his like quick red eyes after a show to get back to his family until we had our families of our own, and we're like,
red eye.
We're like, oh, we get it. Like of course you want to be as much as possible, be with your family, and be present with them. I think what he can improve on, I would say probably just relaxing and chilling out a little bit more, being able to just like pump the brakes and be a little less hard on himself.
How so? Is he just? You mean he's just always driven for more, or he's always frustrated with that he's not creating, or?
I think it's probably. My assumption, or knowing you so well, is probably making sure that like pleasing others, and then he puts the pressure on perfectionism and making sure everything's like nothing can go wrong. And then if something goes wrong, it's like the castle's falling. And I think like being easier on yourself.
I'll take that.
Well, there's a book called The Birth Order, which is about kind of the order of like our siblings being birthed, and like the firstborn is supposed to be the most perfectionist, have the most responsibility on them. So maybe that's through you being, the oldest of wanting to be perfect at everything.
Yeah, I think there's definitely some, I'm not trying to be perfect. I just feel like there's definitely an attempt to manage, and it's not necessarily good all the time.
Right. Okay. So how did that land for you?
Good.
Okay.
I totally get it. And yeah, I do need to chill the out.
So what about this guy?
Nick, he is a natural born leader and within our band as well. And he is just coming off of like doing one of the most challenging things, I think, as a friend, but a bandmate. I mean, going and doing a Broadway show in general is like very challenging. And as like his like 2/3 of this, and also 1/3 of this, and also speaking for us, and also watching him kind of navigate this mountain that he just went after. It's a beloved, for those who don't know, it's a beloved theater show, and it's already going to have a lot of eyeballs and critics, and I guess voices a part of a show like this, and it was like unwarranted negativity when it was announced, and a lot of like
there was a lot of negativity.
It was just tough. It was about the casting to the show itself, and we went to opening night. It was brilliant, and it was like beautiful. I went to opening night and the opening preview, and I was like, "You're crushing it!" And this is like he sings the entire show.
Wow.
Him and Andrea and Warren, they're both brilliant, or were brilliant, and you know, it's just an uphill battle. And then award season, like Tony Award season, it's like you're constantly fighting this kind of thing that's the theater world. It's a whole league of its own, and I think a lot of the time it's like they're very insulated. And I, you know, witnessed him like have to, even on like, you read a tough, and we've gone through it, but it's never easy. You read like a tough review or tough like tweet, and you got to go like put on a good face and go do the show for the people that have bought the tickets. And so I think like that was really impressive, how he was finding the why of like, why do this show, or why like, that's not fun part of this business. Yeah. And him navigating that and still going and crushing it and never missing a show.
Wow. 8 shows a week.
Yeah. 8 shows a week. And also then like spending time with his daughter and wife and being present and being there and showing up and waking up early, hitting the gym, eating clean, not drinking as much. Like that is just a challenge in itself. It's very athletic, and I was really impressed. And I could see how it made a great change on his personality. Now what he could work on, I would say it's goes hand in hand with the first one, which is probably when these opportunities arise, it's always like an obvious yes, but I think probably maybe thinking about, okay, like what do I really need? Because we go so much, like we just move, and we're just naturally born like, I don't want to say workaholics, but we love what we do. And so time off is like somewhat abnormal to us.
It feels weird when you guys aren't doing a project, huh?
Right. And because we love it.
Yeah.
And so I think that opportunity that comes, I think I would encourage him to say, you know what, maybe I don't know yet, but maybe I do need a break.
Interesting.
Yeah.
You never really take a break, it seems like, huh?
Once a year we go on like a little vacation.
Like what, a week or two, or like
a week to 10 days.
And that's it.
It's kind of it. I mean,
you're just on nonstop.
Yeah, it's a product of loving what we do.
Yeah, of course.
You know, being incredibly motivated by the fact that I see the runway of opportunity has thankfully been extended for, you know, let's call it 15 to 20 years. I'm 32. I think it's realistic that that's possible, but that runway exists, and I can't ignore that. None of us can. And it's about building something that I can be proud of when I'm, you know, 20 years down the line, hopefully sitting on a beach enjoying the time that I'm sacrificing now.
Yeah.
But I think that's a good perspective and good outlook. And thank you for what you said about the show.
That's great.
That meant a lot.
That's great. And what about for these two guys? We'll save the youngest of the group for last, you know?
Yeah. I think Kevin is very wise financially. And he, as a part of our business equation, because, you know, we're brothers, we're family, obviously, we're bandmates, we're creative partners, but we also run a business. And we're kind of co-CEOs in that sense. So we really have to kind of lean on each other for different things in different areas where we excel. And he certainly does when it comes to the financial aspect of the business and kind of operating, you know, the business part of it, which is wonderful and takes pressure off of us to be in the weeds on that.
You're kind of the creative director of the financial aspect and the vision of the...
I just think just managing the day-to-day on it. Like there's constant things. You know,
Logistics
it's a lot. It's a very large ship that moves very fast sometimes, but also very slow at others, and it can take time.
Yeah.
And then I think the thing that he can improve upon is that I think he creates hurdles for himself in his desire to say what we've all kind of said, which is to please other. When it comes to what he said about me and when I sort of go and hermit, when I'm going through something, I think sometimes he takes that personally, and it's actually just about me processing or someone else going through their journey, and it doesn't need to be fixed. And it's not your fault. It just doesn't need to be fixed in that moment. Joe has a carefree ease and ability to, I think, kind of see the good in everything and everyone, even when situations that are thrown his way are unfair, where he's characterized in a way that is unfair, or we all live this public life, and you have to sort of take the good with the bad and know that who you are with the people that love you and surround you is who you are, and not necessarily always what the world sees or thinks. But he has this ability to see the good, and it's reflected too in his music, his attitude on stage, and the way he treats people, and I really admire it and am grateful for it, because I don't have that as easily.
Really?
I have a tendency to be sort of a little bit more cynical at times, or
skeptical. Yeah.
And I can see the times in which it directly reflects my ability to perform my best, or that's not just on stage, but in the studio, or if I'm in my head about something. And he's got this great ability to kind of pull out of it. Something he could work on. I think that the very thing that makes you great can also be the thing that makes it difficult at times. So when there's like an important conversation, business-wise or creatively, and he's more carefree and has an ease to him, it's like, let's lock in.
Focus. He's like, whatever,
But again, it's like the brilliance of what makes us all dynamic and excellent teammates, is that we have these like things that make us great. It also is it's the double-edged sword of it.
Mm-hmm. So I've got a few final questions for each one of you, but you've got the new album coming out, Greetings from Your Hometown. It's out August 8th. And you're kicking off the tour, MetLife Stadium, which is cool because it's kind of like the dream stadium you guys saw growing up near your hometown, where you're like, maybe one day in the future we could go play here, and now you're about to go sell this thing out and kick off this tour. What are you guys most excited about the album and the tour for people to know about?
This tour for us is a celebration of this 20-year journey. Our last tour was basically 5 albums in one night. It was a really ambitious show where we basically played everything from our 5 albums in the show. This is different because we're going to reimagine some of the songs, not just from our music catalog, but from Joe's solo stuff and DNCE and from my solo stuff and my side project. And so it covers a lot of ground. And then there's a real kind of story aspect to it as well. And it's going to kind of end with us effectively creating sort of a version of what it was like to be in our living room with our dad playing music, and and how we do that visually will be really fun to pull off. But then at the core, it's just about what those songs were. So our first song we ever wrote together, Please Be Mine, When You Look Me in the Eyes, which was really our first kind of hit that we wrote with our dad back in 2004. And so it's going to be emotional and a celebration. We've got Marshmello, who we've done 2 tracks with. He's going to be a big part of the show. And then All American Rejects, our support for the tour, and they're killing it right now. I don't know if you've seen any of their pop-ups they've been doing at like these house parties, but it's going to be a really, really fun night. And for anyone that is a fan, we can't wait to see you, obviously. But for those that wouldn't, as I mentioned before, like just come and experience it. And I guarantee you will be uplifted. You'll feel some joy.
Are you guys coming to LA?
Yeah.
Dude, I got to come.
I got
to bring my lady and come out. That'd be amazing. So hypothetically, you all get to live as long as you want to live in this world. Mm-hmm. You live 100, however old you are, and it's the last day on Earth. So put yourself in that time frame, many years away. and you've accomplished all of your dreams, everything. And you've lived a life personally, professionally that you want to live. You've made all the art, you've had all the downtime, all the different stuff. It's all happened for you. But for whatever reason, in a hypothetical scenario, all of your content, your music, anything you write or post online, it's erased or it's gone. And we don't have access to your content or your songs anymore. But on this last day, you get to leave behind 3 lessons. And you get to leave them behind to your daughters. And you get to share it with them, and they get to share it with the world. What would be the 3 things that you would leave behind, the lessons you would share to your daughter about the things you've learned in life? I'll let you start, then you, and you.
Sure. Being nicer than you need to be. Like, it's so much. Being nice is cool. And also, go to compassion before assumption. Constance Wu speaks about this. I'd encourage everybody to watch it. There's a video of her on a late night show. She speaks about this. And the third is probably I thought this was fascinating, but I don't. If it's on a show, it might have been yours, honestly. But learning that Disney characters are taught to,
Hug.
are taught to hug a child until the child lets go.
Mm-hmm.
And I think for your sister and for your family and friends, hug until they're ready to let go.
Man, that's beautiful. That gave me the chills. That's cool, man. What about you, Kev?
I think number 1 is work everything out with your sister. Don't forget that she's going to always be your number 1. You know, your mom will be gone, but you'll have her. And work it out. 2, explore the world. See it. Get after it. Like, go wake up early, walk the city. Like, you know, like, I want them to feel and know more than just their hometown. And 3, it's okay not to be good at everything. It's just about the try. It's just about working on that. We work on that constantly with our youngest. She took a long time to find what she liked. And it's like, it's okay not to be okay with, like, be good at it and just work at it. Like, do your best.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Nick?
You'll never regret being kind. Even when it's, even when that seems impossible, you'll never regret it. Make sure the door is always open and the table gets bigger. Everyone is always welcome in our home, and they have a place to stay, they have a place to eat. The door's always open. And last thing I would say to my daughter would be, your mother's a saint. She's never done a single thing wrong in her entire life.
That's beautiful.
She's the best.
That's beautiful. Final question for each one of you. Before I ask it to you, I want to acknowledge you, Nick, Joe, and Kevin, for your authenticity, your honesty, for your vulnerability, for your love and the joy that you bring to the world every single day. Individually in your families, we have a lot of mutual connections and friends, and I only hear great things about you guys. And
Thank you.
so I appreciate each one of you and how you show up in the world artistically, personally. No one's perfect. We're all trying to figure stuff out, and we're all got room to grow. But you guys bring a lot of joy to the world, individually and as a group. And I think that's really inspiring. So I want to acknowledge you guys for that.
Thank you.
And I
Thank you.
hope to see you continue to change many lives for many years to come. And I'm just grateful for you guys. My final question is, what is your definition of greatness? And we'll start with you.
Definition of greatness would be, seeing that it is possible to achieve great things and remain a good person. That is greatness. It is hard for a lot of people to balance it.
Mm-hmm.
And they think they have to sacrifice one or the other. You don't.
No.
We got to watch a hero do it with such ease. Our father.
Mm.
He's,
Beautiful.
in my mind, the definition of greatness.
Beautiful. Joe?
If you have the ability to do what you love and to be kind along the way, definitely agree. Our father is such a great example of a human being navigating life through his unreal journey. And I think if the people that I really look up to are really good at what they do, but also are really kind and really take, I want to be like them. That's greatness. I was like, I want to be like that person, or I want to learn from them.
That's cool. Kev?
I think having a healthy relationship with my family, my children, with my wife, with my brothers, my parents, extended family. Truly, I think that will always make me feel like I've achieved the most.
The new album is out. The tour. People go watch you on tour. Jonas Brothers, thank you guys so much
Thank
for
you,
being here.
Sarah.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
It was awesome.
Amazing.
Loved it.
Amazing.
It is something that I've noticed that I really loved seeing. It was an empty hall. I think it was about 7,000 people in total. And people slowly trickle in, and you can tell nobody knows each other. And then slowly, one person likes a song, turns to the left. You can tell they don't know each other. And I was kind of watching from side stage. And 2 songs later...